Hello again, everyone. So this is where I'm going to go through all the data sheets that we did, and I'm going to give examples. This is not what I want you to write down. This is when you find something, this is an example of what you could do for your thing. So now let's start with layers, because that's our first step. This is on page 18, layers. So this box right here is representing the layers that I find in my plot, my section. And so measuring from the wire down, the first thing you should do is measure from the wire to the top of your plot. And that is going to be whatever distance you say, or like whatever you measure. So let's say my first one is at 9 centimeters. So I would put my mark there. I'm going to draw a line. Now again, I'm not saying that yours is at 9, but if yours is at 9, that's what you would draw it to. This is just open space, so this would be air. Okay, I'm going to label this right here. I said that was 9 centimeters, so I labeled it that. All right, now this is section A. So this layer is layer A. Anything I find in this layer will be labeled part of A. The other thing is in my description, I'm going to put that up here. And I'm going to describe that layer. So let's say this first layer is sand. Maybe it's dry. Maybe it's kind of gritty. I don't know. Maybe it's bigger chunks or something. Those are descriptions of this layer. All right, so let's say I'm excavating, I'm digging down, I'm doing what I need to do to make sure I'm doing it carefully, and then I find something. So let's say I find something, I measure how far from the wire down to that object, maybe it's a little farther into A, and I find it is 11 centimeters down. So I would go to 11, I would put my mark. Now this is my first object, so I'm going to put A1. Okay, and then my distance. So it was 11. So my distances go on the inside, and my layers go on the outside. All right, so now A1. That's my first object. Let's say I found a spoon. Okay, so it's a spoon. It could be shiny. And let's say it's kind of like laying flat versus like sideways or angled or whatever. Cool, so that's that. Let's say I find another object. It's just a little below it. So maybe at the 12. Now that's A2. It's all still an A because I haven't found another layer yet. So this is at 12 centimeters. So then I would write up here A2. All right, so let's say I found a button or something. I don't know, whatever happens to be in there. So a button, it's green. It has 4 holes. I don't know. So those are some descriptions. Great. Now I get to a different layer. Something's changed. It's got a different texture, a different feel to it. I don't know. But there's something different about it. So now I'm going to change it. And I measure. How far is it from the wire to this new layer? Let's say it's 13. So hold on, I got to go outside. So 13. So I've measured it. I know it's 13. So I bring this down and I draw my line. It's a new layer. This is now B. And it's at 13 centimeters. All right, that's my new layer. Everything I find in here is now a B1. Or if I find another object, B2. So how is my layer? What is that? Should I say it's dark? Fine sand? I don't know. Something different. Cool. So then B1. What is my object? I would write it here. B2. Write it here. So it's all these descriptions, and then until eventually you hit bedrock. So you might have 2 layers, you might have 7 layers, whatever it is. Each new layer, you draw a line, tell me how far it is. Every new object, just put another object line there. Oh, I forgot to write how far down. So this one's 14. And it's like 15. All right. Now, let's say I have one layer and I have 2 objects that are in the same spot or the same exact distance down. So then I would put B3, B4, and like however many things there are, maybe, there we go. There's 3 things right there, and that's probably 16. Make sure you remember, you measure. Anyway, so then I would put a description again for each of those objects. And so on. So this is going to keep track of what I find, how far down it is, and what it looks like. That way, when I go back and be like, hey, these were all at the same level, and this is what they looked like, this could be a clue as to what happened here or here. So that's the point. That's what we're trying to do. So our finds, the description of them, and how far down they are, the layers. Cool. So that's our layers part. Now we go to the next page, and that's our coordinates. All right, so I found my item. My first one was A1. So if I go back to my other page, A1. Cool, so I've got that. But where was it in my coordinate plane? So now this is where I'm looking, from the left, it was in this Y coordinates, so Y is anything in these 3 boxes, Z is anything in these 3, X is anything in these 3, the 1 is the column. So if I found it in the Y and the 2, it was kind of in the top corner here, I'm going to put a dot, and then I'm going to label it A1. Okay, so now I also need to add to this. So it's A1, but it's also Y2. So now I have the location of my object. So then I would do the same for A2. So, did I have an A2? Yes, an A2. So let's say my A2 is over here in Z3 and kind of in the corner. So then I would put A2. That's my new A2. So this is now in Z3. So I put a Z3. So these are the coordinates. That's where I can tell people, oh, this is where I found it. And they could be like, oh, it's over in this section. Okay, good. Now I go on to B1. Where was B1? Maybe it was right underneath A. So then, or if it's close to that, I could just put it below it. B1. I can just put it right here and put another arrow to it. So this is in Y2 again. What about B2? Could be in X1. So I would put, let's put this right up here. So B2. So you would do this for all of your objects so that we can kind of get an idea of where they were found. So that's the coordinates. And then finally, this is where you draw your picture. So A1, what did I find? What was A1? It was a spoon. It was shiny and I found it flat. So over here, I would draw that spoon. And the description, let's put what we think it is underneath it and the description as well. So I think it's a spoon, obviously, right? Should be pretty obvious. So it's a spoon. It was shiny and silver. So this is a catalog of all the things I found and my attempt at drawing them. So then I would do A2. What was my A2? Button. Okay, so I'll draw my button. Had 4 holes. It was button, and it was green. I think, if I remember correctly. Yep, and 4 holes, which you can see. All right, so you would do that for all of the objects you find. And again, if you fill this up, you would go to the next page and set up that grid again so you can add them into that. All right, so that is how you're going to document all of your stuff that you find.